Alice Roorda here, Spiritual Psychologist. Today's video is about how to release old patterns with quantum healing. And in these days that there's so much beautiful energy coming into this planet, you get more and more connected to yourself. But at the same time, there is also more coming on the surface, right? Things that want to transform. And there is your old pattern knocking on your door. And what old patterns am I talking about? Patterns that you have picked up a while ago, for they're old, and that is maybe repeating and repeating and repeating over and over again in your life. So whenever the situation in your life that your ego knows, that's what we experienced before. I know that situation. I remember that when you were little, you were taking care of your mom because she needed that, or at least you thought she needed that. And now your pattern have become that you always take care of others and you disconnect from yourself and you be there for others. And you know how tired that makes you feel and might even result in physical pain and overwhelm and disconnect. But that's the pattern. You always take care of others, for example. Or a pattern might be that you're getting overwhelmed when there's too many things happening. And you lose your clarity of mind because once in your childhood there was, and it always goes back to childhood, I'm telling you, or past lives. But it's always the past, let's say. A pattern where there was so much things happening, traumas, things happening in your circumstances that were too overwhelming to comprehend. And especially a child is often not comprehending the situation. So what you do, you disconnect. Then and now again. And then you cannot oversee what's happening and it gets overwhelmed. Any pattern that you have that kicks in is because some part of you feels unsafe. But then you think, I'm just meeting a friend. Why would that feel unsafe to me? Well, to your ego it is because it reminds you of something in the past. And I connected with my higher self before this video to ask how best to go about that. And it said it's best to go back to the original event when you picked up that pattern. So that's what we're going to do. My higher self is going to guide us in this quantum healing. It will be a bit of a co-creation that we're having there to help you to go back and to change it and to eradicate it. And with love and compassion, because it's there to protect you, obviously. And then we use the quantum fields to have a powerful transformation. Now, I want to say before we start, if you have had traumatic events in your childhood when you know that most likely this will be very triggering, I want you to do this in a moment that you have support or you have time for yourself afterwards, because this is powerful. Working with the quantum field, it speeds up things. What normally in a therapy might take months, if not longer, we do here in one session. So they're very powerful. So I want to ask you to really honor yourself by doing this in a moment you can handle this, by doing this in a moment you know that you have support afterwards, that you can ground yourself. So it is important to really come back to your body afterwards and ground yourself, right? I will also tell you in the end of how to do that. During the quantum healing, it might be that you are dissociating because your ego protects you from what it feels is too much for you to handle. Now know that even if you're like fall asleep or you dissociate, it's all fine. Your subconscious is picking up what we're doing here. It's all working for you, through you, by your subconscious. So don't worry if you fall asleep. It is all working regardless. Now you might feel that your body starts to tremor or move, you yawn, you burp, it's all release, it's all good. Just allow that to happen. For now, let's start the quantum healing. All you need to do is sit back and relax. In a relaxed position. If you're someone that always falls asleep, I would say sit up while doing it. And if there is something that really helps you, I would love you to let me know in the comments. What did it do for you? And give me a thumbs up if this is something you like, so I know I can make more of these, because I love doing quantum healing. Enjoy the process. So I want to do a guided exercise, in the sense that I let myself guided by my higher self, or it will take over. Let's see how that goes. Because what the answer was that my higher self told me is going back to the origin of the pattern. Going back to the pattern. When did you pick up that pattern? What happened there? And let's turn it a notch, or change it there, or wipe it out, or release it, or whatever will happen there. So I'm going to tune into my higher self and just let it guide it, because that is so much more beautiful. So just sit relaxed. So I want to ask you to think of an old pattern that comes up regular. All right, so higher self, we are ready for your lead, going back to the source of the old pattern, please. Just tuning into that. There we are. I want to ask you to go back to the source of your pattern. Now let me guide you to that. Imagine that in your human terms there's a past. And see where that is, on the left side of you or behind you. Make that a tunnel or a portal that you can walk into. Just imagine that there's a big long tunnel where you can walk into. And you have the ability to cross back in time, to go into that tunnel where time is different, where you can speed up time and slow time. So I want you to imagine right now you going into that tunnel. You're going to walk towards the past, towards that moment where this pattern started. And you will see on the walls of that tunnel that there are times. It's the first one is your age now, and then the next one is a year before your current age, and so on and so forth. Now, I want you to speed up time while going in that tunnel, and put the intention that you will be stopped at the moment that you reach the point where that pattern started. And then I want you to look at the wall and see the age that you are. So let's do that together. So let's really move back in that tunnel. And we're speeding up the time. So there is those ages, and then there is 10 years past or backwards in time, and then there's another 10 years going back in time, and you're going fast through that tunnel. And you keep on moving forward into that tunnel, and you feel that you're getting younger and younger while going through that tunnel. But don't focus that much on you. Focus on where you're heading. Focus on where you're going into that tunnel. And know that you're going to stop at the moment that you feel you should not keep moving. So you're going back and you see on the sides flashes of numbers that you're passing. That corresponds with a younger and younger age. And at a certain point, you come to there where you actually become smaller. because you go into your teenage years, where your physical body becomes smaller and smaller. And let's slow that time down a bit there. And then you move, you now feel that you're walking again. You feel the steps that you're taking. And every step is a year. Every step that you make is a year. And you're looking in front of you. And you know that on the side of your eye, that there's these numbers without you focus on it. And you keep on walking until you feel that that is the right time to stop and become smaller and smaller. At a certain point, you start to crawl because you couldn't walk at that age. And at a certain moment, you're moving forward without you doing anything. You're being moved forward. And if you haven't already stopped, you continue into the womb. And if you feel that you need to move on beyond the womb, then you move on. You just make that tunnel longer. And it might be that you go into another life. We don't need to follow the order of life, as there isn't such a thing. And then you continue into that next life, if that is where you need to go. And you keep on moving unless you're already standing still. So you keep on moving and focus on that tunnel if you haven't felt that notion of standing still. Until there is a point that you feel it's been enough. And you can speed up time until you feel that your feet don't want to keep moving. That your feet doesn't want to go in front of the other, and that's where you stop. And if you have the feeling there's no of that impulses, I just recommend you go to your age of 2, as that is where a lot of patterns came in. All right. I assume that you are a place in that tunnel. And then you see that there is, on your left side in that tunnel, there's a door, and you open that door. The door gives you access to your reality at that age. And if you don't remember, you just create it. It might be just a feeling, it might be a hinge, it might be a vision, it might be a sound or music or none of that. Just stay with it. And when you open that door, there you are, back to a scene of that age. And just notice what comes up there, notice what you see or hear or feel or know or sense. And just observe that for a moment. Just observe. There you are. Now I want to ask you to really feel yourself in that age. Connect with that younger self of you, or older self in past lifetimes, but the past self, let's say. Identify that past self for a moment and really notice what happens there. And how does that make you feel? How does it make you feel? How do you react? How do you respond to the situation that is happening there? Just notice that. Just notice that. And then also, what meaning do you give it? We give every circumstances, every experience meaning by believing something, connecting it with something you know. You could say your ego gives it meaning, right? I need to be focused on others, for example, to know what is happening in my circumstances. I need to be focusing outwards to stay alert, for example, to what is happening around me, to stay safe. I need to really focus on everything around me. And in that focus, you might notice, oh, I'm losing myself there. Staying connected to myself and being focused outwards is a difficult thing to do at the same time at that age. But perhaps it works different for you. So notice that. Notice that beginning of a pattern. What is it that you do and how do you give that meaning? There's something in the way you give it meaning that takes you out of your connection with self. That tells yourself that you need to behave or do things in a certain way, or withdrawing yourself out of that situation, or numb yourself, whatever it is, so that you can handle that. Notice what is your pattern. Notice what is it that you're already starting there to realize without you consciously doing it. This is how you give it meaning. All right, I want to ask you now to do another thing. That scene is there. I want you now to look at that same scene, but not from the little self, but from your higher self, almost from you in your connection with yourself. So yes, from your higher self. Look at it from that point, that state, the I am, the well-connected part of you, so to speak. Because if you observe it from there, with the knowledge that you have now, and so much more, do you see how that situation caused a pattern? Do you see how that was a way to survive? Do you see how your ego gave it meaning to understand the situation, to have grip on the situation? And what happened there? Can you see that you lost yourself there? Can you see that you reconnected from yourself there? See that, feel that, hear that, whatever way that comes to you. Or know that. However that information comes to you. Feel that disconnection and how the disconnection was needed for you to feel safe. So it was a beautiful way to keep you safe. But that's where the pattern started, right? Can you see that with your higher mind? That it was a way to survive. And how beautiful that was done. And can you also see with your higher mind how that pattern has played out in your whole life after that? Because you took it in as truth. This is true. I'm unsafe in certain situations, and that's why I need to reconnect from myself so I can survive. Because I need to focus outside. I need to know what's happening. I need to be really, really alert what is happening there so I can feel safe. Or I need to leave my body because that is safe, or whatever it is that felt safe. Whatever your pattern is, right? Feel compassion for that. What amazing way your ego found to protect yourself there, to make it possible for you to be in that situation with that beautiful survival mechanism that it kicked in there. But then see how that then continued your whole life, being far away from that situation. Here, now, today, it's still being active. And the more you have repeated that same pattern, the more it's ingrained into your mind. It is your automatic escape when a situation is. When your ego feels the situation needs it at that moment, it's so kind to decide that for you when that is needed. And it brings it back in. And now that you know how well it is, how beautiful it is to connect to yourself, you start noticing that big time. You start to feel that difference. You feel that that is happening. Maybe not always in the moment, but pretty fast and soon after. And the contrast is becoming so big between that feeling connected and disconnected, that feeling of being you and that old pattern. Yeah. And do you also see how holding on to that pattern is doing you a disservice in your current reality? And do you also see that that comes from safety, right? Yes. I want to ask you to go back to the little one, to the original event. And I would like you to connect to that little one, or that old one back in time. It doesn't have to be little, especially if it's past lives. You might not see it in front of you, it might just be a feeling. And I would like you to communicate with that part that took on that old pattern and let it know, update it about your current reality, where you are so connected to yourself, where you don't really need that old pattern anymore. And I would like you to imagine that you can talk to that old version of you and let it know that your current reality is a very different one, that past reality. And I'm also, while you're doing this, I'm going to ask your higher self, I'm going to ask my higher self to do that for you as well. It's a co-creation here. So you do your part while I have my higher self working with your parts. All right, so let's communicate with that and update that part. So higher self, then please really let that younger part know that. Please inform them that this current reality is a saver one, is one of full connection, is one of stepping in yourself, it's one of being the I am. No matter where, no matter what, no matter the circumstances. And please allow that. I realize me talking and you doing the same time will not work. So perhaps it's better just to listen what I'm doing and feel that while it's happening. Yes. So higher self, please update that younger part, that older part, about the current situation where that full connection takes place, where that connection is felt so beautiful and where the ego is embraced and is coming along but not taking over, where that ego is welcome to come along and embraced and accepted, but not taking over. Where the old patterns no longer serve, where the old pattern can dissolve, where the old pattern doesn't take over, no matter what happens. Do you see that reality? Yeah. So can we then clear any resistance to us, to that, in the right way, in the right order, please? Thank you. And can we then please go back to the original event? The original event when that pattern was picked up. Yes. And can we then please release that pattern now that we have examined that? Can we please release that if that is in one's highest good? With everyone here now, everyone watching this, can we please release that? That part would no longer serve, that pattern that no longer serves. Please release that in the right way, in the right order, and all the meaning that has been given to it. The pattern existing of meaning, let's put it like that. The pattern being meaning, the heart of the pattern is giving meaning to it, understanding it, finding one's limitation, disconnection with self. Can we release all of that, please, and do a massive change history? And everything is needed. Thank you. Just take a deep breath, and when you leave out the air, just do that slowly. Just imagine that it is releasing your body. It's getting out of your body. It's letting go. Letting go of the old blueprints, the old meaning you gave it. And higher self, then please update those parts that are holding on to that. That is no longer the current new reality, so that they understand about the new reality, and please update them fully about that new reality. We are in these times where we live in high frequency, where there's way more connection, where that old pattern is such a misfit, right? So please update it about the new situation and let it know that it can let go of that hard work of holding on to the pattern and embrace that new reality. Please do that now and let us know when you're finished. Thank you. Oh, that is so stuck. Allow that to unstuck, I would say. Allow that to be released. Allow that to let go. Ooh, you're feeling that? And higher self, then please also allow the emotions that are connected with that. Insecurity, the emotions that were felt in the original event, when that pattern started, that not understanding what's happening, that not knowing what's happening, that not grasping the fullness of the reality, that unawareness that I don't get what's happening here. That's almost like a victim. It's not really that. It is the feeling lost, that's the word. Feeling lost in the situation, feeling lost because you don't get what's happening. In the original events, feeling lost there. Absolutely lost, as if you can't grab and hold on to anything. So what did you do? You gave it meaning, and that was the beginning of that pattern. So you could grab on something. Can we let go of that feeling of being lost? And any feeling that comes with that. But lost is the major one here. Please release that and do a massive change when everything is needed. Thank you. Thank you. There you go. Let that go. There you are. Beautiful. Beautiful. So much lighter. It's one thing that still wants to be unstuck. What are we looking at here? Higher self? Yes, okay. So it's still related to that pattern, because how to react to such situations is different then. Okay, so higher self, please tag and treat the following. I can stay connected. I am connected to myself at all times. It is safe to be connected to myself at all times, regardless of the circumstances. I'm allowing myself to stay connected to myself at all times, regardless of the circumstances. I am, no matter what. I am at all times. I feel that I am at all times, and I release all fear, guilt, and shame around being me at all times. I deserve to be me at all times. It is safe. My new pattern is to be connected to myself at all times. Higher self, please tag and treat that and anchor that in. And if there's any resistance to that, please clear that now and do a massive change history, and everything is needed. Thank you. That feels good. Okay, let that anchor in, please. Let that enter. Let that come in. Allow that in. Embrace that in. Welcome that in. That's what you can do yourself. Allow that. Open up to that. To all of that. And more. Yes. Yes. Beautiful. And lastly, please raise the frequency of each and every one to a coherent field of energy. So everything gets beautifully integrated and aligns with who you are. Thank you. With that, we come to the end of this. So higher self, please ground all the memories we touched today and put them back in the matrix of the universe. I want to say, just allow this to settle in the coming hours, days. Drink a lot of water and be really, really gentle with yourself. As I said in the beginning, ground yourself. And how do you do that? Feet on the floor, go bare feet if it's possible, walk outside, be in nature, and really feel your body, feel your feet. Have a wider view. So really look outside or count all the things that are blue in your room. So you have your focus somewhere else. So you get more back to yourself. And if you're a bit spaced out, it's okay. But before you go back into the world, let's say, make sure that you're entered your body and you feel grounded. So therefore, water is really important. Be careful with alcohol and drugs. Become very receptive to that after this. It might take an hour, few hours, till 3 days, I would say, until your body has balanced itself out, because there is a huge shift that you made with this quantum healing. It was so beautiful to do that for you, be there with you, and wishing you a good processing, coming back to yourself and enjoying that lighter version of you. Till another time, much, much love.